Pixar's Rules for Storytelling number 4. Once upon a time, there was blank. Every day, blank. Until one day, blank. Because of that, blank. Because of that, blank. Until finally, blank. This isn't so much a rule for storytelling as it is a template for storytelling. It's kind of like those Mad Libs. You remember those, right? You fill in blanks with a variety of words, generally variations on hate slurs and body parts, until you come up with a completed scene or story. In that way, the filling in the blank way, the Mad Lib is kind of the video game high score screen of the literary world, right? When you only have 3 spaces to use, you gotta get creative. That's pretty good. Hey, why was 6 afraid of 7? Because dick tit fat. I don't get it. You're probably asking yourself, Caleb, why are you dressed so dapper today? Well, it's to enhance the contrast between this, my real self, my sophisticated, wise and old man self, and my inevitable 6-year-old immature self, which is coming up very shortly. So let's get started with filling in this Mad Lib, and I can show you just how easy this formula is. 6-year-old self, go! Once upon a time, there was a Pooh. And every day, he farted. One day, butts happened. Because of that, he couldn't fart. Because of that, he didn't stink until finally the Pooh stood up to the butts. Okay, so though the result of this Mad Lib experiment is incredibly immature, I think the fact that there is a sense of narrative buried somewhere in there speaks to the power of the formula. And for the sake of proving the concept, I think we should do our best to try and pull some type of reasonable story from this Pooh. Alright, storyboard time. This is how Pixar does it. So Pooh, we'll imagine his name is Pooh, spends his days farting, which is something his people have long cherished as a defining Poohian characteristic. I know Pooh farting is anatomically impossible, but that's beyond the point here. This is fantasy. The farts and their resulting stink are the chief export, and are the only things that keep the Poohian economy alive. But one day, a community of butts arrives and aggressively takes over the Poohian homeland, insisting that their farts are of a higher quality. The Poohians are enslaved and told that they cannot fart, and therefore cannot support their way of life any longer. Pooh becomes incredibly sad. Eventually, Pooh rallies the citizens of Poohania to fight back against the butts. Now, if you were to replace all of the offending terms, your butts, your poos, your farts, with real-life characters, what you would come up with is a noble story of resistance against colonization. Colonization. Wait. Colonization. Do 6-year-olds know what colons are? Anybody? The most important element of this formula, I think, and the one thing you need to take with you if you forget everything else, and honestly you probably should forget everything else, is the repetition of the because of this blank, because of this blank pattern. What this does is it emphasizes how important constantly elevating stakes are. In a good, engaging story, the stakes are never stagnant. Even if you have 2 characters in the same room who can't talk for whatever reason, you still need to have something to push things forward. There has to be something imminent to further complicate matters, otherwise you have a boring story. You need to stress every potential for conflict. But don't stress too hard, because then you get hemorrhoids. Sequel idea.